Right. What's up, everybody? It's Doug F. Back with another podcast that has yet to be named still. This will be episode number 2. Today I am joined with Jane Fyffe. Uh, Hello, Jane. Thanks for being on.
Thanks for having me.
No problem. For anyone who don't know, this podcast is based around a food app named FoodTribe. And it's a place for FoodTribers to come on, talk, get to know each other, and just generally talk and hang out. And today Jane come on, and we're going to talk about her a little bit, and a lot about FoodTribe. So, all right, Jane, let's start this out, I guess, with how'd you end up on FoodTribe?
Well, I was already kind of a fan of the trio, and my husband had the Drive Tribe app, and I'd check it out every now and then and stuff. And when Food Tribe came up, it sounded like something I want to get into, and so here I am.
There you go. It is a fun app. I'm a fan of Drive Tribe as well. I obviously don't do as much on there if you look at the numbers. Not as much, but I still enjoy it. So, all right. Well, hey, you seem to be pretty popular on FoodTribe. If you look at the numbers and stuff, you seem to be doing awfully well. You have quite the series that's been going on for a long time. Anybody who's paid attention, your journey through FoodTribe has probably been one of the longest running series consistently on FoodTribe. You want to explain, what that's about, or?
Sure. So pretty much, FoodTribers will post recipes, and I try my best to get around to trying different recipes and put up the results of it. I'm over a couple dozen in, I believe it is. I haven't counted recently, but I know I have over 20.
Wow. I was going to say, I know, well, even me, I have started little series that run, maybe 12 or so posts and stuff. And usually most of them fizzle out. But you've been doing the journey through FoodTribe for a while. So, what's some of the best food you've found in your little journey?
I don't know. That's a pretty hard question because I have liked a lot of the Italian foods I have done, but a lot of the Indian foods have really been great. It's such a different spice factor for me. Just love all the different flavor from it.
It does have a lot of flavor in it. I've got to try a few Indian dishes and stuff, and it is. You better like a lot of flavor, because if you don't, it ain't going to work out well. It's very complex, but I have loved everything I've tried so far. So I just wish we had a good Indian restaurant in the town I live in, so maybe I get to try more stuff.
I know it's not available for me either. So this was the only way I was able to have Indian food is recreating somebody's recipe.
Yeah, but that's a brilliant idea, though, because that, especially, there is quite the Indian population on FoodTribe, which is fantastic. And, you get it straight from, people who know how to make it authentically. So that's a great way to go.
Oh, that's it. Because, I can always Google for a recipe, but who's to say how authentic it is?
Well, that's it. You find somebody who's trying to make Indian food who isn't Indian or something, and then you find out that they're not using the proper ingredients or whatever even. So that can be a tough one.
Oh, most definitely.
So, but I think it's great. The series is doing well. I'm glad you've been able to go out this long, but it should have quite the longevity, considering that since you're recreating people's food and people are always posting new stuff. So honestly, you have an endless well of ideas, because you still have ideas coming, I'm sure. So.
Oh, exactly. I have a whole stockpile of recipes that to still just to pull from, and honestly, I can't keep up with doing it. And, just even have regular food every now and then as well.
I do understand that one. Being, on FoodTribe, there's a lot of, hey, you need to try this. And you make a comment on something and people are like, well, you need to fix it. And I understand you're always cooking something new, and I'm always trying, to do new stuff as well. And you think, well, I have these ideas of stuff I want to make. And then you got the stuff that you see on FoodTribe and you think, you know what, I do want to make that. So you try to work that into your schedule, and then you just normal food that you like to eat. And I know with me, only eating once a day, it becomes a struggle to manage what you're going to fix and what you're going to eat. And you're like, you know what? I just want a pizza, or and you think, but so and so wants me to make this, and I want to make that, but I seen this over here, and I really, really want to try that. And yet, it's like, it's always that conflicting of what to fix, what to eat. Am I the only one that goes through that?
Oh, I've even had before. I made 2 different meals in one night just to knock out a couple at a time.
That's like me with the whole what we discussed in the last podcast with the McDonald's thing. I got the McNuggets, the Big Mac, and the Quarter Pounder just to get 3 posts. And it's like, I can't. And, do you ever find yourself eating something that really you're not necessarily craving, but it's because you have to get the post up? Do you ever do that one?
Yeah, that happens occasionally a lot.
Yeah.
Especially if I'm already craving a specific one, and then I don't have like an ingredient, whatever, and I go to another one, and you just like, I really didn't want this.
I have done that more than I can count. You're just like, it's not really what I want, but I've either put it off too long and procrastinated to get into it, or you get flooded with other stuff. And I'm sure you understand, sometimes life just gets in the way, and you get into something that is extensive and has maybe a long prep time, or it's just something like that, and you just don't have that time to get to it and do it proper justice. And I know, when I set out to do it, I don't want to hurry it. I don't want to do it, in a rush. I want it to do it properly, because you want to bring the a proper post to, and make it as good as you can. And sometimes, like I said, just life gets in the way.
Oh, exactly.
So, and a lot of times like me, I have cravings for certain things. Maybe it's something just I want, or a childhood thing often is the case, because food is a very nostalgic thing for me. I believe food memories are important. They, help you relive a time of life, or, maybe reconnect to a person that's no longer with us. And even for me, that's one of the things when people come on FoodTribe and they kind of, I don't know if they run out of ideas, or they're saying, hey, what's good stuff to write about or post? And often the first thing I tell them is, hey, jump into a food memory, write about a memory that is tied to food, because I think that is something we have a tendency to take for granted. I have several of them that when I eat, I just go back to like being a little kid or something, and I think those posts do well as well.
Oh, most definitely.
So, do you have any specific, food memories that you really enjoy and like to fix again, or?
Well, most of mine, it can't be fixed the way it was. My grandma used to make believe it or not, just a tuna casserole. And my mom even got the exact ingredients and everything else, still cannot fix it just like my grandma did. She would get mad about it and everything else. And with that, it uses cream of mushroom. And my cousin became allergic to mushrooms, but he did not even want to tell my grandma he was allergic to mushrooms, afraid she wouldn't fix it for him.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, but she just switched it to cream of celery, I believe it was, and it tasted just as wonderful. But yeah, no, my mom couldn't fix it like her. So
Well, I believe we've had, several conversations on Food Tribe where people's went into that and discussed that sometimes you can't replicate love. And
mm,
often we think that is what it's tied to. That's the, because there's been several food tribers who have posted things they have ate as a child or a very specific family member fixed it for them. And there's, of course, great memories tied to it. And now they're trying to replicate it and they can't. And it's like we're using the exact same things, but it still just never tastes right. And there's been several of us that have come in and said, you can't recreate love. That's an ingredient that only that person had.
well, that's exactly it. Because I mean, I have a cookie recipe my neighbor could not recreate, and I even ordered her the exact same ingredients I used, and she got so mad she gave me the ingredients back.
No, that's something right there. Just can't be bothered.
Yep.
Well, I have a very similar one, and I've done posts on it. Well, I've done one, so I shouldn't say it in plural. But my grandma used to make porcupine meatballs, and as far as I know, she was the only one in the family to ever make them. And my grandma was poor, so uh, she used very cheap ingredients. She used, I think the only maybe name brand thing she used was Campbell's tomato soup. The rice was the absolute bottom, almost sitting on the floor bag of rice at the grocery store, the cheap stuff. Because to her, rice was rice. It didn't matter. So she just bought the cheapest thing she could afford. And then even the hamburger was, really just the cheapest. It wasn't, anything like ground chuck or ground sirloin. It was nothing elaborate. It was your bare bones ground beef. Um, and of course, now in fairness, my grandma did have a reputation for even if she gave somebody the recipe, she would leave an ingredient out just so that way it was so hard. And I knew, talking to people, I have found that several people's grandmas or older relatives of some sort would do very similar things because they didn't want people to recreate it. And I remember as a child, I would go to my grandma's often after school, and it was just a real treat delicacy kind of thing she would make because it wasn't something she could afford to do all the time. And it was cool because it was something I loved, and you had to have mashed potatoes with it. And there is a smell from that is just when it was cooking. And she had this old 70s, I don't know what to call it, green electric skillet. It was just that green you only got in the 60s and 70s. You know what I mean? And always made it in that electric skillet, and there was just something about it. And my mom and dad would even give her money to make it for me because they knew I loved it so much. And now that I'm much older, people have tried. My mom tried to make it back when my grandma was even alive, and it just wasn't the same. And then after grandma died, my mom really tried to replicate that. And she thought she had the recipe because grandma tried to write it down for her, I guess. But like I said, she was notorious for leaving at least one thing out. And it wasn't the same. The people would say it's a sauce or whatever, but it's goop to us. It's I don't know how else to call it. It never turned out right. The flavor just wasn't there. And mom finally just give up. She just said, I can't make it like, she did. And I never thought I would ever get to taste that again. I was heartbroken. And there again, it's amazing, how food ties into our life in ways that just don't realize sometimes, I think. And my wife, she wanted to do this, and she tried her hardest. And, after several attempts, and it was like, the first few wasn't real, they were good, but it wasn't how it should be. And God bless her, she's relentless. And she kept trying and trying until, honestly, I think she's got it now. And is it still grandma's? No, but it's awful close. It's enough that when you eat it, I go back to being a little kid sitting there with grandma, and it takes you back in time, and it allows you to relive the memories of with people that aren't with us any longer, and just kind of relive through food.
Well, that's great. She's able to come close to reproducing it for you then.
Yeah. But I think food holds hard memories and strong memories for us, that allow us to, be transported back in them times, and maybe, like I said, be with them people, or just take you back to a time of, a different time.
Exactly.
It's I have a few of them though. I mean, I have, well, the porcupine meatballs is probably my strongest one. I have macaroni and tomato juice, which is a very basic recipe. It's just literally boiled macaroni and drain it and pour tomato juice in it, add a little sugar, make up a half a dozen peanut butter sandwiches, and that's it. That's it. But I have literally ate that my whole life, really. It does it take you back to childhood? Well, kind of, but it's just something when you've ate something your whole life. You can't go away from it. It's a staple, especially in maybe certain weather or something like that.
Well, it's like I even have one of the fondest memories of my grandparents is my grandma would make me bologna salad. Now, she would literally take 2 slices of bologna on the cutting board and dice it up into wee little squares to make it for me. Now, granted, wow. I tried to have that not too long ago, and that's the most god-awful thing I've had.
Oh, no!
So I just keep that definitely to memory.
Well, I had similar. If you look, I posted, sometimes you can't go back. And I had one of the Chef Boyardee pizza box kit things, pizza maker kit. And I remember greatly, it'd be nighttime, and, me and mom and dad would be going to watch some TV, usually like Night Owl Theater or something like that. And it was like, hey, let's make a pizza. So we'd go in, and we didn't buy it all the time because mom always thought it was expensive. And back then it kind of was. So it was, there again, kind of a treat thing. And I enjoyed them so much as a kid. And now after I've done that post and looking back, I think that maybe it was just that experience is what was important. Me and mom would go in and we'd whip this up, and there's nothing complicated about it. And as I said, I remember sitting in there, and it smelled good. You couldn't wait for it to come out of the oven, and it'd come out, and it wasn't, it was rectangle. We never made it on like a round pizza pan or anything. It was just on a cookie sheet. And we'd slice it all up, take our paper plates of pizza and run in, and I'd crash on the floor in front of the big floor model TV back in the day. And eat pizza and watch movies with mom and dad. And it was just a brilliant time, and everything was good in life. And man, I made that. And I was making the dough, and I thought, what is this? It felt weird. It just didn't, it had an odd smell to it that didn't smell like proper homemade dough. And then, man, I cracked that can of tomato sauce open, and I really started regretting life choices at that point. I thought, this is not tomato sauce. It looked like that stuff that comes in like SpaghettiOs or something. It wasn't good. And when I made it, I sit down and I thought, hey, this is going to be fantastic. It's going to be a great memory. And then I started eating it and I thought, this should have just stayed a memory. This really should have just stayed a memory. Yeah, yeah, that one wasn't going back. That that almost ruined the memory in all reality. It's like, oh no. Oh yeah, it was bad. It was. So
Yeah,
and
I do understand that. I've done the same thing less than a year ago. And mine's the memories of making the pizza with my mom and all that. And I remember loving having that. And boy, I tasted that. It was like, oh no, the nanas are going to come for me for this one.
oh no. Well, and maybe that's the thing, as adults, we know our flavor profile changes. There's a lot of foods that I liked back when I was young and now I can't eat, and vice versa. There was things I didn't like back then, but really enjoy now. So it is a different thing. So maybe that's one of them ones that just you have to be a kid to enjoy it. So
Very well could be.
So is there any other foods that you remember from childhood that are, still relevant to you today?
Not necessarily. I did mostly grow up in a half Asian household, and I grew up mostly eating a lot of Thai food, which I don't really eat that much Thai food now. So I mean, like even like people who grew up with the Kraft mac and cheese, I probably didn't have that till I don't know when.
Oh wow!
It's just not something that was common in the house.
So mostly, what did you have? See, I couldn't imagine growing up without mac and cheese. That would mess with me because, well, in fact, I ate so much mac and cheese growing up, and it was the old Kraft. Sometimes the generic back in the day you could buy. For people who don't know, there was a generic you could buy when we were little kids, and it come in a white box with black letters. That's it. That there was not even a picture on it. It was just a white box, black letters, mac and cheese. That was it. And a lot of times it was that. And I ate mac and cheese to the point that my dad to this day does not want to eat mac and cheese. He don't care if it comes from a box, homemade, it doesn't matter. He won't eat mac and cheese because I ate so much of it growing up that I burned him out on it. So I couldn't imagine growing up without mac and cheese in your life. That's something.
Yeah, I think the first time I had mac and cheese was at a friend's house, and it was around 4th, 5th grade.
Oh, wow, right?
She actually made it for us.
Oh, was it the box mac and cheese then? Cool. I was going to say, I didn't know if it's that or you actually got lucky enough for your first thing of mac and cheese to be homemade.
No.
Wow,
I never had homemade mac and cheese growing up.
I figured, with grandparents, maybe, even they done it or something,
No,
so.
They didn't do a lot of cooking from scratch. I think I had like Velveeta shells and cheese from them once when it first came out.
Right.
No, most of the times, I mean, I get like homemade mashed potatoes, and I think they even done the jar gravy if I remember correctly. So I didn't even usually get homemade gravy.
Oh no.
Hey, as a kid, you was accepting of that.
No, jar gravy was sacrilege. That was Satan in a jar to us. It was. My family took gravy very seriously. I remember growing up, my aunt. We went over. I can't remember if it was for Christmas. Anyway, we was having dinner at her house, and she was known as the boiling bag queen. Everything was boiling bags. We didn't have microwaves back then. It was back when they had them weird bags you just dropped in hot boiling water, and you know what I'm saying. And that's how she cooked everything. Well, she was talking about she had to get the gravy ready, and we looked, and it was a jar of is it Franco American or something like that? And it was, yeah, she caught so much heat from my family for that, because she didn't make homemade gravy. And it was hilarious. I mean, she did. They come down hard on her. People was sort of refusing to eat it, and yeah, it was bad.
Oh, no.
Yeah, and so after that, she didn't cook much because, well, for big family groups, because I come from a family that had a lot of homemade cooks. Everything was, from scratch, homemade, and that was just what happened. So when, people like her would show up with this, like I said, boiling bag stuff, it just, yeah, it didn't go well. It just didn't go well. So growing up in a half Asian household, I love Thai food. Thai food is fantastic. There again, something I don't get to eat as much as I'd like to. I love like pad Thai, and I like Asian food as a rule. Uh, very good. I love, well, egg rolls. I can eat egg rolls all the time. Egg rolls and fried rice and lo mein is great. Um, going to ask, so since you grew up in a half Asian, did you have like normal breakfast, like pancakes, eggs, like the Americanized breakfast, or was you like a lot of the rest of the world really, where breakfast was just anything?
Majority of the time it was just anything, which a lot of times is like some leftover fried rice with an extra just fried egg on top. On occasion we'd have like pancakes and other actual breakfast foods, but no, most of the time it's just whatever there was.
That's cool. That I still try to wrap my head around that sometimes, because of the fact that, I grew up, well, I guess in a way, very American. So breakfast was always eggs or oatmeal or pancakes, and, well, ate a lot of cream of wheat, grits, stuff like that. The things that people consider to be breakfast food. I also ate a lot of cereal. I loved cereal. That was my go-to. As not something you ate a lot of, I take it.
I didn't care for milk.
Oh,
so cereal just is kind of wiped out on that. They didn't even bother trying to buy it for me after a while, because it just didn't even help for milk intake.
mm. Yeah, if you don't like milk, or can't have milk, that could put a damper on it. That could put a damper on it. That would definitely. I wouldn't have been able to do it if I couldn't have had milk. Well, I'd just be in trouble as a rule. Milk is a huge thing to me. So, what was your common thing for breakfast? Did you have anything?
Not particularly. A lot of times it just was leftover. Occasionally it'd be, if there's fried rice, it'd be fried rice and an egg on it, or if there's white rice, might be some white rice and egg. Could just be about anything. I think I even had spaghetti for breakfast before.
I think I would have been yelled at if I would have got up in the morning and my mom would have seen me trying to reheat or something like that, do some spaghetti. She used to get mad because when we would go to, I wouldn't say mad, it was frowned upon, but us kids, if we had a big get together in the mornings, of course, it was eat leftover pizza, because we'd usually have a bunch of pizzas and stuff, and it was like, eat that. And that drove her crazy. It just, why are you guys eating that? You need to, and there again, it was a broad selection of just regular breakfast foods. And that was one of the things I realized once I've been on FoodTribe that, well, honestly, FoodTribe. I'm too many tribes on FoodTribe, and some of the YouTubers I watch as well. We are very unique in our breakfast eating here in America. It seems like most every place else in the world, breakfast is anything. It can be fried chicken, and like you said, a bowl of rice, soup. It's whatever. There's no real limit to it, and I don't know why us Americans limit ourselves so much on breakfast food. That's just weird.
I know a lot of the countries even do like they might have like only like small pastries like for breakfast, whatever. They just kind of keep it light. But yeah, America does seem to be the worst part with it is they have dedicated breakfast.
Yeah. And that's just weird. I can't lie. Now, look, donuts are a great breakfast food, but I could eat them all day. So anyway, but so I could get into the pastries for breakfast. That would be dangerous for me. Yeah, I'd probably have diabetes quick because I do love pastries and cakes and cookies and all that. That's truly one of my weaknesses. I have to try to avoid because it will get me in trouble. It will get me in trouble. So yeah, that's a thing. It is interesting, but the one I tell you, the one I don't know about you. Maybe it's just me. I know me and John Coleman are in agreement that the British they do breakfast pretty well. I could go without the tomatoes. It's just like chop up some tomatoes and that's fine. And the beans. I I don't I don't get the beans. I really don't. That to me is just, well, mildly disturbing in some ways.
Especially flooding the plate with beans.
Yeah, okay. Let me clear this up. I'm not against beans. Well, here I grew up eating baked beans, and there is so many ingredients in it that they're barely like canned beans anymore. And then you bake them, and they get thick, and you got to like shake them off the spoon. They're not. But they just seem fine with you just open the can and just pour them on the plate.
Yeah, no.
I and I'm glad I'm not the only one because John Coleman is not afraid to call people out on the beans, and I feel better because then I'm allowed to kind of say something. It's like, nope, can't, don't get it, don't want to do it, nope. So
yeah, I think that's his favorite thing to pick on Ben Wellman about as well.
yes, he's one of them. He does that. Oh, how? Just not my thing. And I get it's part of the traditional English breakfast, but I think that's one thing I'd have to skip. I just have to skip. You give me the breakfast, hold the tomatoes and the beans. Just hold the tomatoes and the beans. So, not my thing. So, oh well. Is there anything you want to any upcoming stuff on FoodTribe you're going to be excited about or anything?
Right offhand, I can't quite think of anything. I'm just still working on my journeys and just trying new foods.
Well, that's the great thing about FoodTribe is you're bound to find something new. I see stuff new every day, and like I said, there's so many things I would love to try, and it changes daily, and it's hard. It's hard to keep up with it all. I see everything from stuff I would love to try to stuff I'm like, nope, not interested. Prime example is Rachel and the insects. I don't, nope, nope, nope. I am not interested in eating bugs at all. AKA John Coleman and his snails. Nope. Can't.
No.
He tells me because if I come to Australia, he'll make sure I eat good ones, and I'm like, first of all, you gotta get me to eat them. Just, no, no, they're slimy.
I'd have to see him eat it first, then go, okay, well, I'll try it.
I see. Yeah, I get that. It would have to be a bit. You're going to have to prove it to me. I ain't falling for the trick of, oh yeah, we eat them. They're a delicacy here, and then no one else in the room's eating them. I ain't falling for that one. But even after, if I seen him eat it, I like to think I'm a pretty open-minded person when it comes to trying foods. But when you start bringing insects and bugs and stuff into the mix, I can't do it. I just don't think I can do it. I don't. So, all right. Well, unless there's anything else you'd like to add or talk about.
No, not that I can think of right offhand.
Okay. Well, we know to go check you out on FoodTribe, and not only your journeys through FoodTribe, but just all your regular posts. You do very well. You got great photos. You do good writing, and it shows. If you look at the numbers, it shows you're doing well. I'm still coming for you though. Just just saying. But yeah, go over and check her out. Check out her great food, the stuff she's posting. She's doing wonderful stuff over there. And I guess we'll catch you in the next podcast. I hope everybody's doing well. Stay positive. I love y'all. Bye.